Zara had always been different, but not in the way that made her special. She was different in the way that made people look away. On her home planet Zarian, everyone was supposed to be strong and fast. Their society was built around physical perfection. Children learned to run before they could properly talk. Adults competed in strength contests every week. Even the elderly were expected to keep up with demanding physical activities. Zara was 16 when everything changed. She was practicing for the annual youth competition, something every teenager on Zarian had to do. The event involved jumping across floating platforms high above the ground. It was dangerous, but that was the point. Only the strong were meant to survive and thrive. Something went wrong that day. Maybe the platform was faulty, or maybe Zara slipped. Nobody really cared about the details afterward. What mattered was the result. She fell 30 feet and landed wrong. The injury damaged her spine, and just like that, her legs stopped working forever. The doctors on Zarian tried their best, but their medicine was focused on making strong people stronger, not helping the injured recover. When they realized Zara would never walk again, they simply gave up. Her parents received the news like it was a death sentence. In Zarian culture, being unable to move properly meant you were worthless. There was no place for wheelchairs or walking aids in their society. Buildings had stairs everywhere. Jobs required physical strength. Even social gatherings involved activities that needed 2 working legs. Zara's family tried to hide their shame, but it was impossible. Neighbors stopped visiting. Her younger brother started spending more time at friends' houses. Her parents spoke to her less and less, as if her voice had broken along with her spine. The hardest part wasn't the physical pain or the lost mobility. It was watching everyone she loved slowly disappear from her life. Her best friend stopped. Calling her teachers suggested she should consider alternative education at home. Even the local shopkeepers looked uncomfortable when her parents brought her to town. After 2 years of watching their daughter become more isolated, Zara's parents made a decision that broke what remained of her heart. They contacted the Zarian Council and asked for help. Not the kind of help that would make Zara's life better, but the kind that would make her their problem instead. The council had been expecting this. In their efficient society, disabled individuals were seen as drains on resources. They had a solution, though it wasn't a kind one. They would transfer Zara to another planet where she could become someone else's responsibility. The announcement came through official channels to planets across the galaxy. Young alien, female, disabled, needs placement in suitable facility. It read like an advertisement for an unwanted pet. Most planets ignored the message. Some sent polite refusals. A few offered to take her for scientific study, treating her like a specimen rather than a person. Zara learned about these offers and felt her last bit of hope disappear. Then something unexpected happened. A response came from Earth, from someone called Dr. Ryan Chen. He wasn't offering to study her or put her in an institution. He was offering her a home. Ryan was a scientist who studied how different species adapted to new environments. But more importantly, he was someone who believed that all beings deserve dignity and care, regardless of their physical abilities. He had spent years advocating for disabled individuals on Earth, and had always wondered if aliens faced similar challenges. When he heard about Zara's situation, he didn't hesitate. He immediately contacted the Zarian Council and offered to become her guardian. He promised to provide her with proper care, education, and most importantly, respect. The council was suspicious at first. Why would a human want to take care of a disabled alien? But Ryan's credentials were impressive, and his facility was approved for interspecies research. Most importantly, it would solve their problem permanently. Zara learned about the arrangement 3 days before it was supposed to happen. Nobody asked her opinion. Nobody wondered if she wanted to go to Earth or live with a stranger. She was just told to pack her few belongings and prepare for transport. She felt angry, scared, and abandoned all at once. Her own family was sending her away to live with an alien species she had never met. She would be alone on a strange planet with someone who probably saw her as nothing more than an interesting research project. The journey to the space station where the transfer would happen took 6 hours. Zara sat in uncomfortable silence. With her parents, who seemed relieved, that their burden would soon be lifted. They didn't talk about the years they had shared before the accident. They didn't promise to visit or stay in touch. They just stared out the window as if she wasn't there. At the space station, Zara saw Ryan for the first time. He was shorter than she expected, with kind eyes and a gentle way of moving. He approached her carefully, not rushing or speaking too loudly. When he introduced himself, he looked directly at her face, not at her wheelchair or her useless legs. "Hello, Zara," he said in carefully practiced Zarian language. "I'm Ryan. I know this must be scary for you, but I want you to know that you're welcome in my home for as long as you want to stay." Zara stared at him suspiciously. Adults always made promises they didn't keep. They always said nice things they didn't mean. She had learned not to trust anyone who claimed they wanted to help her. Her parents completed the legal transfer quickly, signing documents and handing over her medical records. They hugged her goodbye, but it felt empty and formal. As their ship prepared to leave, Zara realized she might never see them again. The thought should have made her sad, but instead, she just felt numb. Ryan waited patiently while she processed everything that was happening. He didn't try to comfort her with empty words or false promises, just stood nearby, ready to help if she needed it, but not forcing his presence on her. When it was time to board his ship, Zara expected him to push her wheelchair or try to assist her without asking. Instead, he simply said, "Would you like me to help, or would you prefer to manage on your own?" Such a small thing. But it was the first time in 2 years that someone had asked her what she wanted instead of just assuming she needed help. She told him she could manage, and he stepped back to give her space. As their ship pulled away from the station, Zara watched Zarian grow smaller in the distance. She was leaving behind everything she had ever known, but she wasn't sure she was losing anything valuable. Her home planet had made it clear that there was no place for her there. Now she was heading toward Earth with a human who claimed he wanted to help her. She didn't trust him yet, and she wasn't ready to hope that things might get better. But for the first time in a long while, she wasn't completely certain that they would get worse. The first thing Zara noticed about Earth was how different everything smelled. The air was thicker than on Zarian, filled with scents she couldn't identify. As Ryan's ship landed at his private research facility in the mountains, she pressed her face against the window and tried to make sense of this strange new world. Ryan's home wasn't what she expected. Instead of a cold laboratory or sterile medical facility, it looked warm and welcoming. The building was only 1 story high, with wide doorways and smooth floors that her wheelchair could easily navigate. She realized he had prepared for her arrival long before she agreed to come. "I modified everything when I heard about your situation," Ryan explained as he showed her around.
Ow!
"The bathroom has grab bars and a roll-in shower. Your bedroom has adjustable furniture, and there's a lift system if you need help reaching high shelves." His kindness. In her experience, people who offered help always wanted something in return. She wheeled herself through the rooms, testing surfaces and checking corners like she was looking for hidden cameras or monitoring equipment. The bedroom he had prepared for her was larger than her entire living space back on Zarian. It had a comfortable bed that could be lowered to wheelchair height, a desk positioned perfectly for her to work, and large windows that showed the forest outside. Everything was designed with her needs in mind, but it didn't feel clinical or institutional. "Why are you doing this?" she finally asked, her first real word since arriving on Earth. Ryan sat down on a chair nearby, bringing himself to her. "Eye level, because everyone deserves a chance to live with dignity," he said simply. "And because I believe you have a lot to offer the world if given the opportunity." Zara snorted with bitter laughter. "I have nothing to offer anyone. That's why my own people gave me away." "Your people were wrong," Ryan said firmly. "But I'm not asking you to believe me right now. I'm just asking you to give this a chance." The first few weeks were difficult. Zara had spent 2 years being told she was useless, and she had started to believe it. She struggled with simple tasks that used to be automatic, and her frustration often boiled over into anger. When she couldn't reach something in the kitchen, she threw the bowl across the room and shouted at Ryan to leave her alone. When the Earth-designed wheelchair controls confused her, she refused to try learning them and stayed in her room for 3 days. When Ryan tried to show her his research work, she accused him of wanting to study her like a laboratory animal. But Ryan never lost his patience. When she broke things in anger, he quietly cleaned them up without lecturing her. When she refused to eat, he left meals outside her room and waited. When she yelled at him to go away, he simply said, "I'll be here when you're ready to talk." Slowly, Zara began to watch Ryan more carefully. She noticed that he worked long hours on projects that had nothing to do with her. His research focused on developing better mobility aids for disabled beings across different planets. His computer was filled with messages from people thanking him for equipment that had changed their lives. She realized that helping others wasn't just his job. It was who he was as a person. One morning, she found him in his workshop at 5 in the morning, working on what looked like a communication device. She wheeled closer and saw that he was trying to adapt it for someone who couldn't use their hands. "There's a young alien on Centauri Prime who was born without arms," Ryan explained when he noticed her watching. "His family reached out to me for help. I'm trying to create something that responds to eye movements instead." "You do this for free?" Zara asked. "Of course," Ryan said, looking surprised by the question. "Why would I charge someone for the right to communicate with their family?" That was the moment Zara began to understand that Ryan was genuinely different from everyone else she had known. As weeks turned into months, she started participating more in daily life. Ryan taught her how to use Earth's technology, including advanced mobility devices that were far superior to anything available on Zarian. The new wheelchair he provided was faster and more responsive than anything she had ever used. It had built-in navigation, voice controls, and could even climb stairs. "This is incredible," Zara said, the first time she successfully navigated the outdoor trails around Ryan's property. "Why doesn't Zarian have technology like this?" "Because they never thought disabled people were worth the investment," Ryan replied. "But here on Earth, we've learned that everyone benefits when we design for accessibility." Zara began sharing her knowledge of alien cultures and technologies with Ryan. She had studied 17 different languages on Zarian and understood complex physics concepts that even Earth scientists struggled with. Ryan was amazed by her intelligence and often asked for her input on his research projects. He said one day as they worked together on a new mobility device design, "You're the smartest person I've ever met. Your insights are helping me solve problems I've been stuck on for years." For the first time since her accident, Zara felt useful again. She wasn't just someone who needed help. She was someone who could provide help to others. The breakthrough in their relationship came during a thunderstorm that knocked out power to the research facility. Zara was afraid of loud noises, a fear that had developed after her accident, and she began having a panic attack in the dark. Ryan found her trembling in her room and, without asking permission, sat on the floor beside her wheelchair. He didn't try to tell her everything would be okay or that she shouldn't be scared. Instead, he just stayed with her until the storm passed, occasionally talking about peaceful things like the garden he was planning to plant in the spring. When the power came back on hours later, Zara realized that Ryan had missed an important video conference with colleagues on another planet just to sit with her in the dark. He had never mentioned the meeting or made her feel guilty for needing comfort. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't need to thank me," Ryan replied. "We take care of each other. That's what families do." The word family hit Zara like a physical blow. She hadn't thought of herself as part of a family since the accident. But looking at Ryan's kind face, she realized that somewhere along the way, he had stopped being a stranger taking care of her and had become something much more important.
There.
For the first time in 3 years, Zara smiled without forcing it. For the first time since arriving on Earth, she began to believe that maybe she could build a real life here. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Zara had begun to think of Ryan's house as home. She had her own routines, her own space in his workshop, and even her own projects. Ryan had given her access to his research database, and she spent hours every day helping solve problems that scientists across the galaxy had been struggling with for years. But everything changed on a Tuesday morning when Zara woke up feeling dizzy and weak. At first, she thought it was just tiredness. She had been working late the night before, helping Ryan design a new communication system for deaf aliens on the outer planets. But as the day went on, she felt worse. Her vision became blurry, and her hands started shaking. Ryan noticed immediately. "You don't look well," he said, setting down his coffee and moving closer to her wheelchair. "How are you feeling?" "Just tired," Zara lied, not wanting to worry him. On Zarian, showing weakness beyond her disability had always made things worse. She had learned to hide pain and illness to avoid being seen as even more of a burden. But Ryan knew her well enough by now to see through the lie. When she nearly fainted while trying to transfer from her wheelchair to the couch, he didn't waste time with questions. He immediately started running medical scans with the advanced equipment. In his lab, the results were confusing and frightening. Zara's body chemistry was completely wrong, but Ryan had no idea why. Her species had different medical needs than humans, and Earth's medical knowledge about aliens was still limited. "I need to contact some specialists," Ryan said, trying to keep his voice calm. But Zara could see the worry in his eyes, and it scared her more than her own symptoms. For the next 3 days, Ryan barely slept, contacted alien medical experts across the galaxy, shared Zara's test results with xenobiology departments at universities, and even reached out to doctors on Zarian who might understand her condition. Most of the Zarian doctors refused to help. They said she was no longer their responsibility and that her condition was probably related to her original injury. A few suggested that her illness might be her body's way of giving up, implying that it would be better for everyone if she simply died. Ryan was furious at their responses, but he didn't give up. He worked around the clock, studying everything he could find about Zarian physiology and comparing it to Zara's symptoms. Zara watched him push himself to exhaustion for her sake, and something inside her began to shift. She realized that Ryan wasn't helping her out of duty or scientific curiosity. He was fighting for her life because he genuinely cared about her as a person. "You should rest," she told him on the 4th night, finding him still awake in his lab at 3 a.m. "I can't rest while you're sick," he said, without looking up from his research. "There has to be an answer somewhere." "Ryan," she said softly, "what if there isn't? What if this is just how my story ends?" He finally looked at her, and she saw something in his eyes that took her breath away. It wasn't just concern or friendship. It was love. Real, deep, unconditional love. "Your story doesn't end here," he said firmly. "No, I won't let it." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kess, an elderly alien physician from a distant planet, contacted Ryan after hearing about Zara's case through medical networks. She had treated similar conditions before and recognized the symptoms immediately. "It's not a disease," Dr. Kess explained during their video call. "It's a reaction to emotional trauma. Her species can develop physical illness when they experience major psychological changes. The good news is that it's treatable if caught in time." The treatment required a combination of alien medicines and emotional support. Medications through his research connections, but the emotional healing had to come from Zara herself. "You need to accept that you're safe here," Dr. Kess told Zara during one of their sessions. "Your body is still expecting to be abandoned or rejected. Until you truly believe that you belong somewhere, these episodes will continue." As Zara recovered over the following weeks, she and Ryan spent more time talking about deeper things. She told him about her fears of being abandoned again, and he shared his own struggles with loneliness and his dedication to helping others. "I've never had a family of my own," Ryan admitted one evening as they sat watching the sunset from his garden. "My work has always been my whole life, but having you here has changed that. You've made this house feel like a real home." Zara felt her heart flutter in a way that had nothing to do with her medical condition. She was beginning to understand that her feelings for Ryan had grown beyond friendship and gratitude But before she could process these new emotions fully, their peaceful life was interrupted by an unwelcome surprise. An official Zarian transport ship landed outside Ryan's facility one morning, without warning. 3 government representatives stepped out, dressed in formal robes and carrying official documents. "We have come to retrieve our citizen," announced the lead official, a stern woman with cold eyes. "Our medical improvements have progressed. We can now provide adequate care for disabled individuals." Zara felt her blood turn to ice. She knew this was a lie. Zarian hadn't suddenly developed compassion for disabled people. They wanted her back for some other reason, probably related to the advanced work she had been doing with Ryan. "Zara is not property to be retrieved," Ryan said firmly, stepping protectively closer to her wheelchair. "She's a person with the right to choose where she lives." "She is a Zarian citizen," the official replied coldly. "She belongs with her own kind." For several tense hours, the officials argued with Ryan while Zara sat quietly, feeling like a prize being fought over, rather than a person with her own voice. The Zarian representatives made it clear that they considered Ryan's care inadequate and his relationship with Zara inappropriate. Finally, Zara had heard enough. "I am not going back to Zarian," she said loudly, her voice cutting through the argument. "You abandoned me when I needed you most. Ryan gave me a home when you threw me away. He has shown me more kindness and respect in 8 months than I received in 18 years on your planet." The lead official looked shocked that Zara was speaking for herself. "You don't understand the complexities of interplanetary law," she said dismissively. "Understand that you're trying to take me away from the only person who has ever truly cared about me," Zara replied, her voice growing stronger. "And I won't let that happen." Ryan stepped forward and took her hand, a gesture that surprised both of them with its intimacy. "Zara stays here because she chooses to stay here," he said. "I will fight any legal challenge you want to bring." As the Zarian officials prepared to leave, making threats about legal action and diplomatic consequences, Zara realized something that changed everything. The way Ryan was holding her hand, the way he had fought for her, the way he looked at her, it wasn't just friendship or protectiveness. He loved her. And somewhere during their months together, she had fallen in love with him too. The thought was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. She was an alien, disabled, and completely dependent on his kindness. But she was also intelligent, capable, and worthy of love. For the first time since her accident, Zara began to believe that she deserved happiness. And she was starting to think that happiness might be possible with Ryan if she was brave enough to reach for it. After the Zarian officials left, Ryan and Zara sat in awkward silence for what felt like hours. The moment when he had taken her hand still hung between them, unspoken but impossible to ignore. They both knew something had changed, but neither was brave enough to be the first to mention it. For days they danced around their feelings like two people afraid of breaking something precious. Ryan would start to say something personal, then switch to talking about work. Zara would catch herself staring at him and quickly look away. The comfortable friendship they had built was still there, but now it was charged with something new and uncertain. "This is ridiculous," Zara finally said one evening as they worked together in the lab. "We're both adults. We should be able to talk about what happened." Ryan set down the circuit board he was working on and looked at her directly. "What do you want to talk about?" "You know what?" Zara said, her cheeks turning slightly purple, which was how her species blushed. "The way you held my hand, it's the way you looked at me when you told those officials I could stay." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. "I care about you, Zara, more than I probably should." "What does that mean, more than you should?" He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture she had learned meant he was struggling with something difficult. "It means I'm supposed to be taking care of you, not falling in love with you. It means you might feel like you owe me something, or that you have to return my feelings because I helped you. It means this whole situation is complicated in ways that could hurt both of us." Zara felt her heart skip when he said the words falling in love, but she also felt a flash of anger. "Do you think I'm so weak that I can't tell the difference between gratitude and love?" "No, that's not what I meant. Do you think I'm so helpless that I can't make my own choices about my own feelings?" "Zara, please, because if that's what you think, then maybe you're not as different from everyone else as I believed." The hurt in her voice made Ryan stop trying to explain himself. He wheeled his chair closer to hers and took both of her hands in his, not caring this time about what it might mean. "You're right," he said softly. "I'm sorry. You're the strongest, smartest, most amazing person I've ever met. If you have feelings for me, they're your feelings to have. I have no right to question them or dismiss them." Zara looked down at their joined hands. "I do have feelings for you," she whispered. "But I'm scared too." "Scared of what?" "Scared that this is too good to be true. Scared that you'll realize I'm too much trouble. Scared that the rest of the galaxy will make our lives impossible. If we try to be together, it's if the universe had been listening to their conversation." The next few weeks proved that Zara's fears weren't unfounded. News of their relationship somehow leaked to the galactic press. Maybe one of the Zarian officials had spread the story, or maybe someone had intercepted their communications. Either way, headlines across multiple planets soon read things like, "Human scientist in inappropriate relationship with disabled alien ward." The coverage was brutal. Some outlets painted Ryan as someone who took advantage of vulnerable aliens. Others suggested that Zara was manipulating Ryan's kindness for her own benefit. A few particularly nasty commentators questioned whether their relationship was even real, or just a publicity stunt for Ryan's research. Earth's Interplanetary Relations Department contacted Ryan with concerns about diplomatic complications. Several universities threatened to cut funding for his research. Protesters showed up outside his facility with signs saying things like "humans first" and "send her back where she came from." But the criticism that hurt most came from places they hadn't expected. Some disability rights activists accused Ryan of having a savior complex and treating Zara like a charity case rather than an equal partner. A few alien rights groups suggested that their relationship was a form of cultural colonization. "Maybe they're right," Zara said one night after reading particularly harsh comments online. "Maybe this is all wrong." "Do you believe that?" Ryan asked. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Everyone seems to have an opinion about our relationship except us." The pressure became even more intense when Ryan's research funding was officially reviewed. A committee of scientists and government officials questioned whether his relationship with Zara compromised his professional judgment. They suggested that his work might be biased by his personal feelings. "Dr. Chen," said the committee chairwoman during the formal hearing, "how can we trust your research on interspecies relationships when you're personally involved with your test subject?" "Zara is not my test subject," Ryan replied firmly. "She's my partner in research and in life. Her insights have improved every project we've worked on together. If anything, our relationship has made my work more accurate and more ethical." But the damage was done. 3 major funding sources pulled. Their support and Ryan's professional reputation was seriously damaged. Several colleagues stopped returning his calls, and he was uninvited from conferences he had planned to attend. Through it all, Zara and Ryan supported each other. When Ryan lost his funding, Zara used her own knowledge to help him apply for grants from more progressive organizations. When protesters gathered outside their home, Ryan made sure Zara felt safe and protected. "I'm ruining your career," Zara said one evening, as they watched another news report criticizing their relationship. "You're not ruining anything," Ryan replied. "The people who matter understand what we have. The people who don't understand aren't worth worrying about." Slowly, support began to come from unexpected places. Other interspecies couples reached out to share their own stories and offer encouragement. Progressive scientists defended Ryan's work and integrity. Disability advocates who actually understood the situation spoke up about the importance of disabled people being allowed to make their own choices about love and relationships. Dr. Kess, the alien physician who had helped treat Zara's illness, published an article defending their relationship and pointing out the medical evidence of Zara's improved health and happiness since being with Ryan. "Love is healing," she wrote. "I have seen this young woman transform from a traumatized, abandoned individual into a confident, thriving person. Anyone who would deny her this happiness in the name of propriety or politics is acting against her best interests." The turning point came when Ryan and Zara decided to speak publicly about their relationship. They gave an interview to a respected galactic news network, speaking honestly about their journey from caregiver and patient to partners and equals. People see my disability and assume I can't make my own choices, Zara said during the interview. They see my alien heritage and assume Ryan must be taking advantage of me. But I'm an adult with my own mind and my own heart. I choose to be with Ryan because he treats me with respect, supports my dreams, and loves me for who I am. Zara makes me a better person and a better scientist, Ryan added. She challenges me, inspires me, and brings perspectives to our work that I never would have considered on my own. Our relationship isn't about one person saving another. It's about two people building something beautiful together. The interview changed public opinion significantly. While they still faced criticism from some groups, many people began to see their relationship as a positive example of love transcending differences. More importantly, Ryan and Zara stopped caring as much about what others thought. They had fought for their right to be together and won. They had proven to themselves and each other that their love was strong enough to survive the worst criticism and pressure. As they held each other that night, watching the stars through their bedroom window, Zara realized that she had never felt more certain about anything in her life. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Ryan replied, and for the first time, neither of them was afraid to say it. 2 years had passed since Ryan and Zara first admitted their love for each other, as the media attention had mostly died down, replaced by newer stories and scandals. But their relationship had only grown stronger through all the challenges they had faced together. Ryan found Zara in their workshop one morning, working on plans for a new communication device. She had become an equal partner in all his research projects, and many universities now sought her expertise on interspecies technology development. "I have something to ask you," Ryan said, sitting down beside her workbench. Zara looked up from her blueprints, noticing the nervous energy in his voice. "What is it?" Ryan pulled out a small device that looked like a crystal but glowed with soft, changing colors. "On Zarian, I learned that couples exchange these harmony stones when they commit to building a life together. On Earth, we have wedding rings. I thought maybe we could create our own tradition." Zara's eyes widened as she realized what he was asking. Ryan ... double quotes. "I know we can't have a traditional wedding from either of our cultures," he continued, his words coming faster now. "But I want to make a commitment to you in front of the people who matter to us. I want the galaxy to know that we choose each other, not because we have to, but because we want to." Zara took the harmony stone in her hands, feeling its warmth pulse gently against her palms. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes, I want that too." They planned their ceremony for 6 months later, creating a celebration that honored both of their backgrounds. While establishing something entirely new, the guest list was small but meaningful. Dr. Kess traveled from her distant planet to officiate. Several of Ryan's supportive colleagues attended, and they even received recorded messages from other interspecies couples who had been inspired by their story. The ceremony took place in Ryan's garden, surrounded by the accessibility features he had built and the alien plants Zara had grown from seeds, sent by friends across the galaxy. Instead of traditional vows, they each spoke about what they had learned from loving someone so different from themselves. "You taught me that strength isn't about what your body can do," Ryan said, holding Zara's hands as they faced each other. "It's about what your heart chooses to do. You chose to trust again after being betrayed. You chose to love again after being abandoned. You chose to build something beautiful from something broken." Zara's voice was steady as she replied, "You taught me that I was never broken in the first place. You showed me that love isn't about fixing someone or being fixed. It's about accepting someone completely and helping them become the best version of themselves." As they exchanged harmony stones and earth rings, creating a symbol that belonged to both their worlds and neither, Zara felt a completeness she had never imagined possible. But their story was far from over. A year after their ceremony, they made a decision that surprised everyone, including themselves. "I want to adopt children," Zara announced one evening, as they reviewed applications for their newly expanded research institute. Ryan looked up from his papers, startled. "Children? There are so many young beings across the galaxy who need families," Zara explained.
Oh.
"Disabled children, alien refugees, kids who don't fit into their societies for whatever reason. We have the resources, the knowledge, and the love to help them. Ryan considered this for a moment, then smiled. You're right. We've built something beautiful here. We should share it. The adoption process was complicated by their interspecies status and the lingering controversy around their relationship. But their persistence and the support of advocates eventually paid off. Their first adopted child was Kai, a 7-year-old human boy who had been born with a condition that affected his muscle development. He had been in foster care for 3 years because many families felt unprepared to handle his medical needs. When Kai first arrived at their home, he was quiet and wary, much like Zara had been when she first came to Earth. But Ryan and Zara understood the fear behind his silence. They gave him space, patience, and consistent care until he began to trust that this home might be permanent. Are you really going to keep me? Kai asked one night, as Zara helped him with his physical therapy exercises. As long as you want. To stay, Zara replied. This is your home now. But what if I get sicker? What if I need more help? Zara stopped the exercises and looked directly into his eyes. Then we'll figure it out together. That's what families do. 6 months later, they adopted Nira, a young alien girl whose species was known for their exceptional hearing. Ben born deaf, making her an outcast in her own society. Her family had abandoned her at a refugee center, unable to accept that their child was different. Nira spoke in sign language, and Ryan and Zara spent weeks learning her complex visual communication system. When they finally mastered enough signs to have real conversations, Nira wept with joy at being understood. No one ever learned my language. Before, she signed to them. Everyone always wanted me to learn theirs. Your language is beautiful, Zara signed back. We're honored that you're teaching it to us. As their unusual family grew, so did their impact on the wider galaxy. Interspecies Accessibility Institute, that Ryan and Zara had founded, became a leading resource for adaptive technologies and inclusive design. Young beings from dozens of planets sent messages thanking them for devices that had changed their lives. Universities that had once questioned Ryan's work now competed to collaborate with their institute. The research papers that Ryan and Zara published together were cited by scientists across the galaxy, and their approach to inclusive design became a model for other researchers. But the most meaningful changes happened at home. Kai grew stronger and more confident, eventually becoming interested in engineering and working alongside Ryan in the workshop. Nira developed innovative teaching methods for deaf alien children and started conducting virtual classes for students on multiple planets. Look what we built, Ryan said one evening as they watched their children play in the garden. Kai was helping Nira repair a communication device while they both laughed. At something only they understood. Zara leaned against Ryan's shoulder, feeling the warmth of the harmony stone around her neck. We didn't build this alone, she replied. We all built it together. 5 years after that first day when Zara had arrived on Earth as an unwanted, abandoned alien, she sat in her workshop reading messages from young disabled beings across the galaxy. They wrote to tell her that seeing her success had given them hope. They shared their own stories of overcoming rejection and finding love. One message particularly moved her. It was from a young Zarian girl who had been injured in an accident. Similar to Zara's. I used to think my life was over, the girl wrote. But then I heard your story. If someone like you can build such a beautiful life, maybe I can too. Zara showed the message to Ryan, who was working at his desk nearby. Look, she said. We're changing minds, one person at a time. Ryan read the message and smiled. You're changing the galaxy, Zara. You're proving that everyone deserves love and respect regardless of their differences. That night, as they tucked their children into bed and shared stories about their plans for tomorrow, Zara reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them all together. She had started as someone no one wanted, someone considered broken and worthless. Now she was a respected scientist, a loving partner, a devoted parent, and an inspiration to countless others. She had found not just love, but purpose, belonging, and the chance to help others find the same. As she and Ryan settled into their own bed, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of their sleeping children and the gentle hum of the devices they had created to make life better for others, Zara realized that sometimes the most beautiful stories Begin with the word unwanted, because when someone finally sees your worth, when someone chooses to love you exactly as you are, you don't just find happiness, you find the power to change the world.